Zoleka Mandela was refused to be buried in the Mandela estate where she initially said she wanted to get buried in her diary. A lot is going on with this story, but we have our correspondent, Joseph, from South Africa, who is going to tell us more about this story. Hi, Joseph, how are you doing?
Good evening, how are you? How is Uganda?
It's brilliant. We're celebrating our independence, so everybody is in good spirits. How is it there in Johannesburg?
Happy Independence Day. It is okay. There's always something that, boggles the mind in South Africa, but generally everything is all right.
Amazing, amazing. Now, we called you in to talk about the Zoleka Mandela story. I understand she passed on a week ago, I think, a few days ago. And there was so much controversy around that passing of Zoleka Mandela, which the first one is the list that she wrote of the people that she didn't want attending her funeral. What are the thoughts of some of the people? Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about Zoleka Mandela according to you, and you know her more from South Africa. Give us a little brief about Zoleka.
Well, so Zoleka bears a very important name in South Africa, South African history. You all know Nelson Mandela, the founding father, president of an independent South Africa. She was born some 43 years ago by Zinzi Mandela, who is the daughter to Nelson and Winnie Mandela. All right. So apart from just bearing a very important and very integral surname of the South African community or South African history, she is well known for so many other things that she did when she was alive. That is writing books, being an activist, and also in some controversy as well, being addicted to drugs and alcohol, and of course just being a Mandela grandchild in South Africa means there is a whole lot of limelight on you. Everything that you do to the minute is loved or persecuted. So you sometimes and most fail not to keep your life very private, because everybody in Africa, in fact everybody in the world knows Nelson Mandela. So there will always be that lingering thought of how is the rest of the Mandela doing, the Mandela family doing, and in this case she happened to be a grandchild, and she was far from being in the spotlight herself. In her 43 years that she lived, a lot of things happened within her life. She had 6 children, but 2 of them passed away. One in a car accident in 2010, coming from a World Cup event, and another one was a boy who was born prematurely and also died. So she is survived by 4 kids, and within all of those kids, there is baby daddy drama, and eventually the baby daddy drama carried on until the end of her life here on Earth, because one particular name which will be remembered by a lot of people is Thierry Bashala, who is the ex-husband to Zoleka, who then got an interdict with an aunt from the Mandela family as well to say, no, stop burying Zoleka here. We would love to bury her at a plot that we bought when we were married. So there's been a lot of activity in Zoleka's life, but not all of it has been gloom. There has been a lot of good things. She wrote a book, but of course the book detailed an account of her life and the sexual abuses she suffered from parts of her family, her husband, ex-husband, and dealing with cancer. Not only 2 times, but the 3rd time, which is the one that claimed her life. And you know that cancer is a very bears a very soft spot to everybody in the world, not only in South Africa but around the world, because it is something to beat cancer. It is something to survive cancer. So she not only survived it once, but she survived it twice. And the 3rd time, I guess it was weighing so heavily on her mind and her body, and everything was just not the same like the first time and the second time. So she just she literally gave up. She
All
literally
right,
gave up.
thank you so much for that insight. Now, we understand there was a lot of controversy about her body. It actually got exhumed from the Mandela estate where she had asked to be buried. Can you give us information as to why was it exhumed and why did they refuse to bury her there? And where did they take the body after that?
Okay, so maybe the word exhumed might be a little bit, and I know there are reports that have reported and used that word exhumed, and it's a little bit over dramatic, but there are some outlets as well. And also the story just remains very unclear because, as you become a Mandela grandchild, there's not a lot of what you call it access or media access to some of the events that the family goes through. So it's been reported that it was exhumed, and some outlets saying no, it was just stopped from being buried in a particular place and then buried at another place. So around the issue of exhumation is the family has obviously a Mandela piece of land or a plot where Winnie Madikizela Mandela was buried, and even her two children were buried there, the children to Zoleka Mandela. So it was almost like obvious that she was going to be buried there. But then her ex-husband, which is Thierry Bashala, and an aunt, another aunt from Mandela, forgetting the name right now as I'm speaking, came and went and took an interdict. Apparently, they had bought a piece of land when they were still in love, when everything was okay and she was alive, the husband and her, and to say, this is where I will lay my, I will finally rest. So the husband was also coming from the ex-husband was also coming from the aspect of him being an ex-husband and having had made plans with Zoleka before her death. And then the family was also just going through with what they usually do when a member of the Mandela family dies. They will say, okay, this is the piece of land that we've got, we're going to bury her here. So that was the conflict. So the interdict and the police and the aunt and the ex-husband all came in, and then they changed the burial place and moved it to this place that they had bought when they were married. So it divided the family, but eventually she was buried at another place where the ex-husband and her had made prior arrangements.
All right, thank you so much. Now, my last question is, here in Uganda, when a woman dies and she's married, they automatically have to be buried at their husband's burial place, ancestral home. Is it how it is in South Africa?
Yes, so the culture is pretty much the same across the continent. We honor that here as well, and hence you will find the reason why the family, although divided, it still went on. She still went on to be buried at the husband's place, or a place where they had initially decided this is where I will lay, I will take my final rest. So it is the same thing culturally when you are married. Although she went on using the Mandela name, which is a little bit hard to let go of, since it bears a lot of significance within the South African context. But she was married at one time, and they had made this prior arrangement, and hence the reason why I think the interdict actually stood, and eventually she was buried where the husband and Zoleka had made prior arrangements, despite the fact that she wrote some things in a diary to say, I don't want my ex-husband at the funeral. It was now here or there, but because he had that authority as an ex-husband, they had to let her do it, and let him bury her at that final resting place.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for taking some time off your schedule and talk to us here at Short Circuit. Have a good evening.